Friendsgiving or Frenemies? Love Island. Beyond the Villa Season 2, Episode 2 Review, when the villa ends but the drama doesn't. When it comes to reality TV, there is one thing we all know for sure. The cameras may stop rolling in the villa, but the drama, oh, it packs its bags, grabs a flight, and follows these people right back into real life. That is exactly what we are seeing unfold in Love Island, Beyond the Villa Season 2, Episode 2. And let me tell you, this episode did not come to play. It came to stir the pot, flip the table, and leave everybody questioning who is really a friend and who is just pretending for the camera. Episode 2, cleverly centered around a Friendsgiving dinner, should have been about bonding, healing, and maybe even a little gratitude. Instead, what we got was tension, side eyes, unspoken beef, and just enough awkward silence to make you clutch your remote and say, now why would they do that? Let's break it all the way down, because this episode is layered, messy, and honestly, kind of relatable. The setup, when Friendsgiving turns into a social experiment. The episode kicks off with Iris and TJ deciding to host a Friendsgiving dinner. Now on paper, that sounds cute. You think food, laughter, maybe a little wine, and people finally putting their differences aside. But from the very beginning, something feels off. And that something is the guest list. Not everyone is invited. Now, let's pause right there. Because in real life, you already know what that means. Leaving people out of a group event is never just an accident, it is a choice. And in a group that already has unresolved tension, that choice becomes the spark that lights the entire episode on fire. What makes it even more interesting is how casual the hosts try to play it. There is this energy of, we just wanted a small gathering, but everybody watching, and everybody not invited, knows better. This is not about intimacy. This is about boundaries, alliances, and maybe even a little bit of quiet shade. The invitation that wasn't the real drama starter. The moment the cast starts finding out who was invited and who was not, the mood shifts immediately. You can almost feel the tension through the screen. Conversations start happening in smaller groups. People start asking questions. And the biggest one is simple. Why wasn't I invited? That question carries weight, because it is not just about dinner. It is about where people stand with each other after the villa. It is about loyalty. It is about who is still cool and who has been quietly cut off. And what makes it even messier is that nobody wants to be the first to admit they feel some type of way. So instead of direct confrontation, we get side conversations, subtle comments, and that classic reality TV behavior where everyone talks around the issue instead of addressing it head on. But let's be real, everybody felt it. Coco and Clark, a conversation that needed to happen. One of the biggest moments of the episode is the interaction between Coco and Clark. This is not just a random conversation, this is history coming back to the surface. Their tension is rooted in what happened during and after the villa, including elimination drama and things that were said outside the show. And when you mix real feelings with public commentary, you are bound to get an uncomfortable reunion. When they finally sit down to talk, there is an effort to be mature. You can see both of them trying to keep it respectful, trying to move forward, trying not to escalate things. But the energy tells a different story. It is polite, but it is not warm. It is calm, but it is not resolved. They say the right words, but you can tell there are still feelings underneath the surface. And that is what makes the scene so compelling. Because sometimes closure is not loud. Sometimes it is just two people agreeing to coexist, even if they are not truly okay. Coco moves on. Enter Chris. While the group is busy navigating tension and awkward energy, Coco decides to shift her focus, and honestly, who can blame her? She goes on a first date with Chris, and for a moment, the episode gives us a break from all the heaviness. The date is lighter, more relaxed, and feels like a reminder of what the show was originally about, connection. But even this moment is layered. Because while Coco is exploring something new, you cannot ignore the contrast between her storyline and the rest of the group. It is like she is stepping into a new chapter while everyone else is still stuck rereading the old one. And that raises an important question. Can you really move forward when your environment is still holding on to the past? Amaya and Brian, the breakup that won't let go. Even though their main confrontation happened earlier, the ripple effects of Amaya and Brian's breakup are still very present in episode 2. Their situation is not just their situation anymore, it has become a group issue. People are picking sides, even if they are not saying it out loud. There are quiet opinions forming. There are subtle shifts in who stands next to who defends who, and who avoids certain conversations altogether. What makes this dynamic so interesting is that no one is fully addressing it, yet it is influencing everything. It is like an invisible cloud hanging over the group, affecting the mood, the interactions, and even the way people show up at events. And let's be honest, this is real life. Breakups in friend groups are never contained. They spread. They impact everyone. And this episode captures that reality in a way that feels both messy and authentic. Group dynamics. Not one big happy family. If there is one thing episode 2 makes clear, it is this: this cast is not unified. There are cliques forming. There are people trying to stay neutral. There are people quietly stirring the pot. And then there are those who are just trying to survive the social dynamics without getting pulled into the drama. What makes this season different from the original villa experience is that there is no structure forcing them to interact. In the villa, you cannot escape each other. But in real life, you can choose who you spend time with, and that choice is creating division. The Friendsgiving dinner becomes a perfect example of that division. It is not just a meal. It is a statement. It shows who is in and who is out. And once that line is drawn, it is very hard to erase. The awkwardness. The real star of the episode. Let's talk about the real MVP of episode 2, awkwardness. Not the funny kind. Not the cute kind. The uncomfortable, secondhand embarrassment kind. There are moments where conversations feel forced. There are pauses that last just a little too long. There are looks exchanged that say more than any dialogue ever could. And honestly, that is what makes this episode so engaging. Because it feels real. It feels like those situations we have all been in, group gatherings where something is off, where not everyone is getting along, where you can feel the tension even if no one is saying it out loud. Reality TV often thrives on big blow-ups, but this episode proves that quiet tension can be just as powerful. The bigger picture. Life after the villa. What episode 2 really highlights is the challenge of maintaining relationships after a reality show. In the villa, everything is intense. Emotions are heightened. Connections are formed quickly. But once the show ends, real life begins, and real life is complicated. People change. Feelings evolve. New opportunities create distance. Old issues resurface. And suddenly, the relationships that once felt solid start to crack. This episode is not just about drama. It is about transition. It is about what happens when people try to take something that was created in a controlled environment and make it work in the real world. And the truth is, that is not easy. My honest take. This is not about love anymore. If we are being real, this show is no longer just about love. It is about navigating friendships, dealing with public perception, managing personal growth, and figuring out who you are outside of the villa. The romance is still there, but it is not the main focus. The main focus is the relationships between the cast, and those relationships are complicated. And that is what makes it interesting. Because while the original show gives us the fantasy, this spin-off gives us the reality. Final thoughts. Messy, awkward, and completely addictive. Episode 2 of Love Island, Beyond the Villa delivers exactly what reality TV fans love: drama, tension, and just enough emotional depth to keep you invested. It is messy. It is awkward. It is uncomfortable at times. But it is also real in a way that feels refreshing. The Friendsgiving dinner may not have brought everyone together, but it definitely moved the story forward. Lines have been drawn, feelings have been exposed, and if this is only episode 2, we are in for a very dramatic season. Because one thing is clear. The villa may be over. But the drama is just getting started.